previous videos, viewers, we mostly discussed military aspect of this conflict. Military gains, losses by all the sides to this conflict. We haven't talked about humanitarian crisis much in Tigray, especially in Tigray, because though there are problems in Amhara, Afar regions, tens of thousands have been displaced there, but the two regions are not under siege, and delivery of aid supplies to IDPs in Amhara, in Afar, it's not faced with challenges. But delivery of aid to Tigray is very slow. Why is that? Why is the delivery of aid to Tigray is slow? Is Ethiopian government really obstructing the supply of aid to Tigray? If it's doing that, what's the reason behind that? So I thought of taking a detailed look at delivery of humanitarian assistance to Tigray. What are the problems? What is the solution to these problems? Firstly, viewers, the three sides, US, Ethiopian government, TPLF, they have different positions about delivery of aid to Tigray. We heard from Linda Thomas Greenfield, US envoy to the UN 2 days ago. She said Ethiopian government is obstructing delivery of aid to Tigray. She accused Ethiopian government of blocking aid supplies to Tigray. Ethiopian government says it is not blocking any aid delivery to Tigray. International aid agencies can arrive in Addis Ababa or in Djibouti. Aid can arrive by air or by sea. It can arrive by sea in Djibouti. It can arrive by air in Addis Ababa. But the aid supplies will be thoroughly checked. And it is being done that all aid supplies arriving by air in Addis Ababa and arriving by sea in Djibouti, which they enter in Afar, these supplies are being thoroughly checked. It takes time. You have to unpack all supplies. So it takes time. Ethiopian government has this apprehension that international supporters of TPLF could supply TDF with weapons in the guise of humanitarian assistance. That is why Ethiopian government is carrying out extensive and detailed inspections of these aid supplies to Tigray. So it takes time. Obviously, it slows down the speed of aid supplies to Tigray. And secondly, Ethiopian government wants to ensure that no supplies reach TPLF fighters. If there is abundant supply of aid to Tigray, it will definitely reach TPLF fighters. So it's deliberately slowing down the speed of aid supplies to Tigray. But you cannot prevent TPLF fighters from getting these supplies. Because on both sides, everyone is part of this war now. Women are fighting, elderly are fighting, youth fighting, children as well. So you cannot distinguish between the fighters and civilians. The aid will reach TPLF fighters. You cannot prevent TPLF fighters from getting this aid. TPLF has a different position. It says that Ethiopian government wants to keep Tigray under a siege. Roads leading to Tigray through Amhara blocked. Road leading to Tigray through Afar under pressure. We have seen attacks on aid convoys moving along the road, Afar Mekelle road. And Tigray People Liberation Front says that today Gatachorida said that Ethiopian government and Afar regional government, they are involved in attacks on aid convoys in Afar region because they want to slow down the pace of aid supplies to Tigray. TPLF says that Ethiopian government is using the aid as a weapon. It wants to keep this siege continuing. Tigray is definitely under a siege, viewers. On all sides, Tigray is dependent on those countries and those regions which are not allies with Tigray. Towards in eastern direction there is Afar, northern direction there is Eritrea. In western direction, western Tigray, presence of Eritrean forces, Amhara forces, and in southern direction there is Amhara region. So on all sides, Tigray is under siege. TPLF says it will continue fighting until the siege is lifted. Means until you give us a corridor with another country. TDF tried to have this corridor by launching an attack on western Tigray. It could not penetrate western Tigray. TDF made second attempt by moving towards Djibouti through Afar region. It tried to advance towards Djibouti Ethiopia road. Again, this second offensive failed. Now TDF is left with no option but to penetrate Amhara Afar regions. It will continue doing that. Military and humanitarian aspects of this conflict are interlinked. You cannot resolve humanitarian crisis in Tigray until there is a resolution to Tigray conflict, until there is resolution to the dispute over western Tigray. There are three possible scenarios. The first scenario is that somehow Tigray Defense Force captures western Tigray and a corridor with Sudan is established and aid starts flowing from Sudan into Tigray. Second scenario is that TPLF forces, TDF forces in Afar Amhara, they suffer heavy losses. They decide to retreat towards Tigray and they agree to a ceasefire. They remain dependent on Amhara Afar regions and they agree to this ceasefire, to this siege as well. Not very likely. Third option is talks over western Tigray. A corridor linking Sudan with Tigray with international monitoring. Some international force can be deployed along this corridor. And this corridor can be used for speedy delivery of aid to Tigray. And Tigray can be linked with the outside world through this corridor. But so far we have seen that all the sides they want to exhaust military options first. TDF is trying to take control of western Tigray by moving towards Gondar, towards Dassi. Ethiopian government is in control of western Tigray, Humera, Volkai, Sagade. So it sees itself in a stronger position. It does not want to start any talks. International community is divided. US on TPLF side diplomatically, Russia, China backing Ethiopian government. After a few hours, UN Security Council is due to meet. Let's see what happens there. International community could call for a humanitarian corridor with international monitoring through western Tigray. It's the only solution. Otherwise, this war will go on Humanitarian crisis cannot be resolved until you find a resolution to territorial dispute between Tigray and Amhara regions. Thank you for watching.